Today is June the 1st, 2004. My name is Farah Muhammad. I'm 20 years old. My birthday is January 22nd of 1984. I'm doing this video because I want the public to know the truth about what really happened in South Beach, because I was there. I saw everything happen in South Beach. I know all of the alleged victims personally. They lived at my house. I was in South Beach with them, like I said before, and I just want the public to know what really happened. To know that Malachi York is innocent. He never molested any children. He didn't do anything to anyone to make them say that he molested them. He never molested anyone. I guess I'll just start with when most of the girls left the land. They came to my father's house to live in my father's house. Arlene Hamilton, Karima, she moved there. Ada Nicole Lopez, she came too. And that struck me as odd because when she left, her mother was already off the land, and she could have lived with her mother, and she could have lived with her father as well, because her father he wasn't even involved with the organization. But she was in contact with him. She knew how to get in contact with him. She knew where he lived, because ironically he didn't even really live that far from my home. He lived about 15 minutes away. And it struck me as odd that she moved there, but then again it didn't, because I knew that she was involved with my brother. She was molesting my brother when he was maybe about 13 or 14. He was living on the land at the time. I think she was like 23, and she was molesting him. So once I remembered that, I was like, okay, so that's why she's here. But like I said before, most of the girls, when they left the land, they came to my father's house. They stayed there for a while. We all worked together at the same location, and then eventually each of them started to leave. Nicole left first. She went. I'm not sure if she went to move with her mother or father. I think she moved with her. She lived with Jacob first. When she left, she went to Jacob's house, and then Shababa left, and then Karima, she left. And then they all went to Jacob's house. And that's how I met Jacob. I would hang out with the girls, and I would go over to Jacob's house all the time and just go over there and hang out. We would just go there, hang out. Jacob would take us out to clubs. He would buy us like liquor and everything. Would just take us out and I guess just show us a good time or whatever. I just wanted to go out because I was 15, 16. I was just being, a rebellious teenager. I just wanted to hang out with older people. So we would go out or whatever, get drunk and just crazy stuff I shouldn't have been doing at the time anyway. So we would do that, and then I heard about the trip to Florida. I was at Jacob's house. They invited me to the trip to Florida. He said, we're all just going down to Florida, just going down to have fun. We're going to reunite with all the old Banets and the other boys that we grew up with, and it was just a trip to Florida to reunite everyone and, just go to the beach and have fun. Prior to that, I would see Jacob talking to the girls, saying that he wanted to get this plot against his father. And he wanted to go to the F.B.I, saying that his father was molesting girls, and that he wanted the girls to say that his father was molesting them. And one case in particular, I saw Lemuel LaRoche, what's his name? Bruce Baeth Smith and Ahmed Smith, they're brothers. They approached Esther Cole and Dina Cole. They came to their apartment, and they were like, we need you to say that you were molested by Mr. York, and that you saw young children being molested, and that you brought children to him so that he could molest them. And they were like, no, we don't want to do that. That never happened. We never saw any children being molested. He never molested us. We don't want to be a part of that. We just want to move on with our lives. Nothing like that ever happened to us. And that conversation subsided with that. But even still, they were trying to convince them to go along with the story. But they were like, no, we don't want to do it. That never happened. We never saw anything like that. So that subsided. And then I found out about the trip to Florida. Um, so I went to Jacob's house. I got dropped off at Jacob's house by my brothers. Um, Habiyba Washington was there. Um, Noah LaRoche was there. Rashid Williams, East was there. Jamin Ish James, he was there. My brother was there. He got dropped off with me. Kush Muhammad. There were a few other people there. I don't really remember who was there. And we left Jacob's house at about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And the trip, it was about an 8-hour drive down there. So when we got to Florida, we stayed at the Sheraton Hotel. Mostly everybody was. Jacob financed the whole trip. All we had to do was bring enough. All we had to do was bring like $100, something like that, to help pay for the rooms. But as far as like food and transportation and stuff like that, just little knickknacks or whatever, if we wanted stuff during the trip, Jacob paid for everything. And during the trip and even on the way down to Florida, Jacob would talk about how he hated his father and how he blamed his father for the death of his mother, and how he was upset with his father because he wouldn't give him money for his record label. And he would just talk just really bad about his father. I didn't really understand why. But he always would just say how his father was to blame for his mother's death, and he would talk about how he hated him for that, and that's why he wanted to bring him up with these charges of child molestation, because it would be easy to get someone convicted of child molestation. Because if you say a child molested, then automatically people will believe it, and it would just be a believable thing. We were in Florida. He would bring it up a lot. Everyone would just be partying, having fun, just going out, hanging out, walking to the beach, walking downtown at the shops, and he would just constantly bring it up. And while we were in Florida, we met the girls. We meaning the girls. There were a lot of people on the trip, but the girls never went anywhere if Jacob didn't take us. We were always kind of babysat, supervised by Jacob. We always stayed in the hotel. We never went anywhere unless Jacob was there. And while we were at the hotel, he would keep saying, okay, well, I need you to say that you were molested, and I need you to say that you brought children to Mr. York to molest them. And he would just, try to get people to go along with the story. He even tried to get me to go along with the story as well, but I told him, I never lived on the land, so it didn't make sense to say that I was molested because I never lived there. I wasn't close to Mr. York. And that kind of ousted me from the trip because I wasn't in on, the conspiracy, so there was really no need for me to be like around or whatever. During the trip, Jacob would buy me liquor, and I was 17 at the time. Jacob would buy me liquor, and he would get me drunk, and he would fondle me, and just really harass me. And I would tell him, no, I don't want to. First off, I'm intoxicated, so I'm just like I don't know what's going on. And secondly, I just didn't want to, and he insisted, but he eventually got the idea and he stopped. So during the trip, my brother had left the night before we left. My brother had left that evening. He had left with a car full of people. I don't remember who left with him. I know it was him, Ish, Noah, and a couple other people. I'm really not sure. And during this time, there was a lot of room hopping going on. People would be kissing and just a lot of room hopping going on. One person would be in the room, and two people, a female and a male, would be in the room, and then the female would leave, and you see another female go in, and just men and women going in and out of rooms, and I was really uncomfortable with that. It kind of shocked me that they would be this loose about themselves. It really made me uncomfortable. And that eventually subsided after hours of that going on. And we had left South Beach. We left about 11 o'clock, I would say. We checked out at the hotel about 11 o'clock. In the car ride back, Habiyba Washington was in the car, Jacob, Ada, Nicole Lopez, Karima, Arlene Hamilton was in the car, me, and Rashid. We were all in the car. And Jacob brought up the conversation again, how he wanted to go to the FBI with the story of child molestation, and that he needed the girls to say that they were molested. They saw girls and boys being molested, and especially say this to Habibah because she was in charge, and he knew that she was in charge, and he told her that people already had went to the FBI against her, saying that she brought them to Mr. York to be molested, and that there was no way for her to convince the FBI, to prove to the FBI that that it never happened, and that she needed to go along with the story so that she wouldn't be brought down with Mr. York. She continued to tell him that he never molested me. I never saw anyone being molested. I don't want to do that. But he insisted on her going along with the story. They went back and forth about it, and he just told her that they would talk about it later. And he would say how he wanted to just go up to the land and take the children that was up there because he didn't think that they didn't need to be around his father because his father was this horrible person. And everybody was like, he's a wonderful man, he didn't do anything wrong to anybody for him not to be around anyone. But Jacob insisted that his father was just this horrible person, and that we needed to go up to the land and just take all the children. And we were like, we don't want to do that. And he that eventually subsided. He was like, okay, we won't do it. We'll have to do it. We'll do it legally. We'll go to the FBI. And at the time, I didn't believe him, because Jacob has a way. I just didn't believe him. I just didn't believe that he would do something like that. I didn't think that would really happen. So we got back to Florida. From Florida, we went to his house. I stayed at his house because we had got back really late. It was about 2:30 maybe when we got back to Florida. I stayed at his house, and I left early the next morning. Went back home to my father's house. A few months later, I was at work, and I saw we were closing, and I was staying late because I had some extra work to do. And I was in the lobby watching the news, and I saw that the land was raided, and I was like, wow, what's that about? And then I thought about it, and I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that they actually did. I knew that once it hit me that the land was raided and Mr. York was arrested. They said Mr. York was arrested and everything, and it hit me like, oh, okay, that's what happened. They actually went to the FBI with the story that he molested children, because they said he got arrested for child molestation, and I couldn't believe it. I was flabbergasted. I was astonished. A few weeks later, my sister called me. She was in Philadelphia, and I was leaving work. It was pretty late in the evening, maybe around 6 o'clock. I'm not sure. She called me, and she was just like, "Hey, Farah, how you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm okay." She's like, "Well, I need you to do me a favor. I want you to call this number for me on three-way." So I was like, "Well, okay. I don't know how to do this, so you're gonna have to tell me how to do it." So she explained to me how to do it, and I called the number, and once I didn't know what the number was, I didn't recognize it, but I called it for her anyway, because she's my sister. I did it for her. And when someone picked up, it was the FBI, and I was confused. I didn't know why she would be calling the FBI, Um, and she asked for it was a female agent. I don't remember what agent it was, but the agent wasn't there, so she just left a message on the telephone. And that was really the last of the whole situation that I had dealt with at that time. I then later found out that she had said that she had sex with Mr. York, or something along the lines of that. I'm really not sure, but I'm not sure what she said to anyone. But she never said to me that she was molested. She never said to me that she saw any children being molested. She had actually, when she lived on the property, she actually would call me and would write me letters to tell me that I should write letters to ask if I could move up too, because it was a wonderful place. You know, she was having fun and she missed me, because me and her were really close. We were like best friends. She was my best friend, and she would just write me letters telling me that I should write if I could move up, you know, to be around her and live with her. And she never once to me at any point say that she saw children being molested or she saw anyone being molested. That never came up. She never said that to me. A little bit after that, once I got involved with the case, because I wanted people to know that, you know, they're a bunch of lies. I was in Florida. I saw them making up the story. I saw Jacob telling the girls that they needed to go to FBI, make up the story, and I wanted people to know. I wanted people to know the truth. And she would call me. This was before the trial. She would call me almost on an everyday basis, and multiple times during the day. Call me, threaten me, tell me that she would come, that if I testify on behalf of Mr. York, that she would come and beat me up, and, you know, just do things to me, tell me I was ruining the family, that I didn't know that what I was talking about. And she would threaten me. She would physically threaten me, saying that I didn't know what I was talking about, and that if I testified for Mr. York, that she would do things to me. But I testified anyway, because I want people to know the truth. I'm not going to sit and listen to their. I mean, it was idle threats. I didn't take too much heed to it. It didn't really bother me. It bothered me that my sister was saying things like this to me, but I didn't take it to heart. I went down to Brunswick to testify on behalf of Mr. York, but my testimony was blocked by the judge. He wouldn't let me talk about Jacob. He wouldn't let me say anything. My whole testimony was about the conspiracy, and I wasn't allowed to say anything. That really upset me, because I saw everything. I saw the whole thing happen, and it made me very angry that I wasn't able to testify, because I knew what was going on. I knew what happened. I knew the truth, and what I knew wasn't. They weren't going to let anyone know what I knew, and it really upset me. And even once the trial was over, I got back home, and she would still call me, tell me that I was ruining the family, that I didn't know what I was talking about, that she was going to come down here and beat me up. And that's why I'm here doing this video today, to let the truth be known, that no child molestation as far as Mr. York was going on. I mean, Ada, she was molesting my brother, and she was having sex with other boys that lived on the land who were minors when she was 23, 24 years old. So all the molesting was on Ada's behalf. She was doing all the molesting, and they're just saying Mr. York did the things that they do. They're the ones who are doing all of these things, and that's how they could come up with these stories about what was going on, because this is what they were doing, and they just took their names out and put Mr. York's name there to say that he was doing it. But I know the truth, and they know that I know the truth, and that's why I'm here today, to tell the truth. You know, he's in jail for things that he didn't do. He's an innocent man, and it's not fair that he's in jail. It's not fair that he's in jail. It's not fair that Kathy's in jail. You they didn't do anything to anyone. And they even turned on Esther